Man, I wish I had the time machine so I could go back into the past. Not that far, by the way, like 2016, and show people this article that Biden administration announced its first major step to fight America's racist roads. What do you think people in 2016 would have said? Like, what do you think Democrats in 2016 would have? They would have laughed. They would be like, what is this, The Onion? No, it's MSNBC. Because it's not like you're driving the car on the road and the road calls you the N-word. It's not about that. What has happened is that the Democrats have created a completely different vocabulary. Even though they speak English, they use the same words, but they have changed the definition so much that they can say racist roads with a straight face. Initially, racism meant showing prejudice towards another race. So it required to have intent. But now they changed the definition. And what it means is any inconvenience that white people create towards minorities in the US. And said inconvenience can be intentional or unintentional. It doesn't matter. Like, they changed the definition so that as many things as possible can fall under the category of racism. But the punishment for racism is the same, which is getting fired from your job, losing your social media presence, getting ostracized from friends and family. So in other words, what used to be racism, like the KKK burning a cross in a yard, like that is now the same as not liking the new Disney movie Ariel. Right? Like, it's still the same word that describes both of these actions, which are monumentally different, but the punishment should be the same. Now, what is going on here, and this is true in every single country around the world, it's not just America. When you have a highway, the price of housings next to that highway are going to drop significantly because most people don't want to deal with the pollution, they don't want to deal with the noise, they don't want to deal with the possibility of a car not taking the correct turn and then ending up in your yard. So because of that, the price for houses that are next to a highway are significantly lower. Now, the people who buy houses that are cheap are the people who can't afford to buy houses that are expensive. In the case of Detroit, it happens to be black people. So the Democrats are going to call the roads racist. Doesn't fucking make any sense. But because it's an inconvenience to the people there, which, by the way, if you remove the road, like let's say you actually remove that highway, do you know what would happen? The price of the houses would go up. People would start selling, and then you may have gentrification, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also the left that complains about this phenomenon. And again, it makes sense. Like, if you have a garbage heap, or you have a power plant, which lowers the value of the property, and then that thing gets taken away, so the power plant gets shut down, or the garbage heap gets moved, well, the price of the property goes up, so the people who live there are now inclined to sell. Maybe they can't even pay the new property tax. In some cases, the property tax is tied to the value of the property. So if the value goes up, the people can't afford to pay the tax. Like, that has happened. But anyway, right, this is not what's happening here. What's happening here is that they are destroying what apparently is already a highway, right? So they're dismantling a highway, which according to them is built to destroy a black community, right? So they spoke with the people who created the highway years ago, and they know that it was like specifically designed to destroy the community. And what are they building instead? Well, instead they are going to build a slower speed boulevard that aims to improve safety by removing a steep curve and adding LED lighting while making wider sidewalks to protect bike lanes and pedestrian crossings. Now, maybe things are different in America. I don't know. But what I do know is that in my country, if you tell people, hey, we're going to make a slower road, so you're going to have worse traffic, you're going to reach work later, you're going to have difficulty in having the ambulance or the police reach to your house, people wouldn't appreciate that. Like, here in my country, people want faster. Like, they don't want slower, they want faster. And when it comes to safety, they're like, shut the fuck up, I know how to drive. They don't want the government to restrict the roads. They want the government to make it so that people can drive better, right? I mean, again, I don't know how it's like in America. I don't know what it's like in Detroit. But what I do know is that this is what people want when it comes to government, right? Like, they want larger streets, they want highways, they want easier access. So if a politician came to my city and said, hey, we're going to spend $20 million to fuck up your roads. Like, we're going to narrow the road, but it's okay because we're going to add some LED lighting to make it really futuristic and cool. But we're going to narrow it, so it's going to take a lot longer for you to go to work, and it's going to take a lot longer for the emergency services to arrive in your neighborhood. Like, let me tell you that there are no words in English, Elvish, or the tongues of men to describe what people would have to say to that politician. Like what? So you're taking my taxpayer money in order to make traveling more difficult? But in the United States now they have a new way of selling that. They have a new way to market that. See, we're not just trying to fuck up your travel. No. We're fighting racismus because the roads are racist. And only through the strength and the might of the Democratic Party can we create anti-racist roads, which apparently might take forever for you to go to your workplace. Unfucking real, right? So they're like upset that why are the Republicans complaining about this because they don't understand why, blah, blah, blah. I'm still surprised that people are surprised. Yeah, because you changed the language in order to help with your marketing. Now, this is just my cynical take, okay? This is what I personally think about it. I can't prove it or anything like it. It's just, I think they are looking at China and they're salivating at the system that the Chinese are currently having, where they can use technology in order to control people. So what does that mean? Well, it means that people are less inclined to drive and they're more inclined to use the public transport. But to use the public transport, you need to show QR code. In which case, the Chinese government, if they find you unsavory, like let's say you want to, I don't know, protest against the banks, they can flag your QR code as red and all of a sudden you can't travel. So by restricting the ability of people to drive cars and forcing them to use public transport, you can, as the government, direct them to wherever you want because you're the one that decides where the public transport goes. So if you want a particular area to be more difficult to access, you can limit the number of public transports that go there. And you can also control using technology, in smart cities, you can control who is allowed to use the public transport. Like you can still have money to use it, but if you're a naughty citizen in China, the government can turn your health pass red. All of a sudden, you can't go there. Now, can such a system be implemented in the United States? No? Why not? What would stop it? Why do you think that such a system would not be implemented in the United States? Why do you think that the politicians would not benefit from such a system? Let me know in the comments section. Again, I'm not saying that this is what they're trying to do, but I'm saying it is a concern. I mean, it's already happening in China. Why couldn't it happen in the West? I find it very interesting that this is the move, right? Like to take away people's ability to drive their own cars. I mean, if you look at human history during the medieval time, this is exactly how the lords managed to keep the peasantry in check. If a peasant wanted to leave the land, he needed the approval of the lord. So peasants weren't allowed to move freely and go wherever they wanted. This may be just a return to that. Now, take into account it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen from today to tomorrow, but like slowly, gradually, people are more willing to accept it. It's like, okay, well, it's more difficult to have a car. I'm having difficulty arriving places, so maybe I should just start using public transport instead. And when you start using public transport, it's like, oh, so now my credit card doesn't allow me to go there because I posted negative things about the banks on social media. That is a potential future. Again, if you don't think it can happen, let me know. Why not? What would prevent it? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.